Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Fitness Show, episode 33, the Illuminati episode. Thank you. The New World Order has taken over. New World Order has taken over. That's all I do. I try to get goofy little openings for my co-host, Big Mike Barons, to, as we say in wrestling, pop for. But today we're going to talk about off-grid fitness, which is directly correlated to the Illuminati, to the New World Order, because Mike and I are trying to escape both of them. How are you doing, Mike? Are you scared yet?
How can I be scared when you keep me laughing like this?
Don't turn on your TV, everyone.
Yeah,
Do not
right.
watch YouTube, and do not search Middle East or anything or war.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
we did make it to episode 33, though. I predicted we wouldn't, but
Yeah.
we're all in bonus time right now, I
Hey,
guess.
man, we'll take it. Every day is a blessing. We'll take it. Every episode is a blessing, and we're happy to be here. I'm happy to be talking about off-grid fitness today because I think that's something that is important for people to recognize and to think about when they're talking in their fitness journey. I think that's something that the off-grid mindset is something that is near and dear to both of our hearts. And so, figuring out how you can have off-grid fitness and making your fitness journey, and how do we tie that into fitness? Because I think also too, that's one of the things with off-grid. When you think about it, you don't necessarily think about your fitness as well, right? Like if you're going to be in an off-grid world, or you're going to have an off-grid mindset, you also need to consider your fitness journey as well, you know? And so I think talking about some of the things that we think through and some of the things that you can do to still accomplish your fitness while being off-grid is just a good conversation to have for sure.
Yeah, I think even if people say, "Well, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to be in the mountains. I don't want to build a cabin. I don't want to do my self-reliance or do
Sure.
any of that stuff." On a more general term, we're just talking about fitness equipment or workouts that you can do that doesn't require power, electricity,
Right.
plugging it in. And I'll share my experience in the new garage gym, which has only one plug in the ceiling of the garage. I mean,
Mm,
it's a beautiful space. It's big. It's got tall ceilings. It's more symmetrical than the garage gym. Plus, we had two. So off-grid fitness is also about saving money and being
sure.
minimalist. So we knock it down to the one larger garage, but that power coming from the one plug makes us more mindful and intentional, because you have too much stuff plugged in, you're going to trip a breaker, the
Right.
electric bill goes up. So everybody's being squeezed in that regard as far as monthly bills and utilities. So if you're not thinking about building the cabin and escaping like Mike and I are, then then if you're in your apartment, if you're in a home, if you're in a garage, if you don't have an outlet near you, you may not have to pay an electrician to get in the best shape of your life. You might just need to be very mindful about what you pick. So that's the mindset. There are two different mindsets. If you fall into one of those two, this episode is still for you.
For sure. And it,
That
yeah,
rhymes.
exactly. That's pretty good. You're a poet, you don't even know it.
Well,
Yeah, no,
you did it too. See, we can go on and on for this.
yeah,
People
right.
think people didn't come to hear her awful ghetto poetry.
Next week on the Big Fitness Show, poetry.
Actually, it's funny you say that, because we're both reading the same book right now.
Yeah, I finished it
Or your
actually.
poetry. Jesus, I'm on page like 7. All
I
right,
had
I'm gonna
I had a
maybe
long
not
drive. It
next
was an
week, but
audio book, goes fast. So anyway.
and he's
Yeah,
he's very much into an off-grid lifestyle, self-sufficient,
oh, sure.
and also about being physically fit at the same time, or as you said, being prepared, I think, is
Yeah.
also a good way to put it.
Yeah, totally. And like the for I think for when an off grid, and this might not be for everybody that's listening, but it's definitely something to consider. Like the off grid mindset is just it's just different. But you got to prepare to be off grid and really, like, for anybody who doesn't know, the definition of off grid is just meaning that you're not using public utilities and things like that, right? So like in the fitness world, like Stevie was saying, you're just not plugging in your equipment, right? And so for the most part in fitness, most equipment doesn't need to be plugged in. Like obviously a set of dumbbells doesn't need to be plugged in. But what we're talking about and what we're going to talk about is like the treadmills, any type of rower, an elliptical, or any type of equipment like that, like a Stairmaster or anything like that that you might get that needs to be plugged in for it to work. And there's a ton of benefits to having those equipments, and that's cool. But to not have those and to kind of develop your home gym, your garage gym around not having to plug everything in is a huge thing from just a ease of use, not having to plan for electricity. It's going to save you some money. So I just think it's a great thing to consider for sure.
Yeah, and that includes where the trend's going with smart fitness. I have a Tempo studio in here, also Nordic Track Vault, Tonal, all
Yeah,
these different things, and I'm mindful of that because I live in Florida. So obviously, a
sure.
hurricane could knock stuff out. You live in the Midwest, so a huge snowstorm could knock
Yep.
everything out. And by the way, an off-grid ice plunge would or a cold plunge would be great for you during
Well,
the
yeah,
winter.
yeah,
Well, you have a pool, so
I do. Yeah.
that's exactly what that is. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's lots of different stuff that people could do. And actually, when I was doing a little bit of research on my own, we just kind of came up with it as we were talking
Yep.
pre-production. But as we were trying to develop, okay, what's off-grid living going to look like? I'm like, wow, it's amazing. I'm a big fan of the stuff I don't need to plug in. I have an air bike. You have an air bike.
Yep.
I have the Teeter Power 10, which is an elliptical rower, really great piece of equipment. And then recently I've started uploading it on the Stevie Richards Fitness channel. Dude, that total gym is no joke.
Yeah.
Sliding bench training, completely off grid. I could take that thing and literally load it in the back of my pickup truck and take it to the beach. It'll be a little cumbersome, but
Sure.
it's not heavy. You fold
Sure.
it up, take it and have it anywhere. So that right there, I mean, and like you said, dumbbells and a bench, a lever gym. I mean, we're giving all these different examples, but it's really the amount of off-grid choices is actually more than smart fitness choices.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because I mean the basic movements and stuff. And so that's, you know, basic equipment that you're going to use. There's so much that people just don't even really think about when they're doing it. And I don't really it makes sense because that's what fitness equipment is. It's so you don't have to have it plugged in. But then if you're into the off-grid lifestyle, like fitness is an easy thing to add into it because you can get all kinds of different equipments and they're making more and more things that don't have to be plugged in, some that run on battery power that work. One thing you brought up, the connected fitness, all the apps and stuff are great. But and being connected, like I have a TV in my home gym and I have an Apple Fitness, an Apple TV plugged into it. So I have Apple Fitness there. But if the power's out, what am I going to do? Right. And so being able to have some off grid uh, workouts, right? Like take these workouts, write them down so you have them, being able to get to that mindset of how you can come up with a workout on your own to implement the equipment that you do have, right? So if the power's down and you can't use whatever connected fitness you have, how do I program a workout with dumbbells and a medicine ball and a squat rack or things like that, and just getting to that mindset so that you're prepared if and when the case that the power's out and you need to work out and you want to just go completely disconnected, or you're setting up your garage and you don't have electricity in the garage, or you don't have enough electricity to run all the different things. I mean, it's just lots of things to consider in there. But the nice part is, to your point, is there's most of the equipment that you're going to purchase is completely disconnected from any type of electricity. So,
Yeah, I left one out, the Fight Camp bag, even though the app is connected and all that stuff to the punch trackers, and there's classes and on-demand stuff. Just a
sure.
punching bag, speed bag, jump rope, all these things are great off-grid solutions that you don't. Let's talk about a jump rope. A jump rope is no less beneficial or difficult than an air bike, than a treadmill, than all these different things. So you can have a jump rope. You can literally have everything you need in a backpack. You can load that stuff in a backpack, and
Hmm.
then you can do something called rucking, where the
Sure.
backpack is weighted down and you're walking with weighted resistance. So, especially if you're living off grid in the mountains and you hike or you go to the beach, you can do that. It's just the options. I was at first when we talked about off-grid living, or like you said, just trying to take out public utilities, use solar, dig for a well, do these
Sure.
different things. It looked like we were going to sacrifice. That's what I thought at
Hmm.
first. And obviously our businesses require power for
Sure.
editing videos,
Sure.
uploading, internet. But outside of that, how much do we waste in power
Sure.
watching YouTube videos or sitting here just kind of like, okay, I'll take a break, but I'm still sitting here with the screen on. We found when we eliminated what we thought we needed and didn't, as opposed to what we do need, the options were actually endless in a way.
Sure.
We're like, oh, I
Sure.
get it. If I can work out an hour a day on the total gym or the air bike or jump rope, I'm not using the power that we might store with solar and batteries and stuff like that. Or even if we are hooked up to the grid, we're not using that to make it $20, $30 more per month.
Sure.
It's really a cost saving type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The cost savings that come with it. And then I think this speaks to a bigger conversation of like having a home gym and a garage gym and stuff and what equipment you're going to purchase and how to prioritize that so that you don't have to rely on a commercial gym or you don't have to rely on electricity to get a workout in. And there's some simple things like a little jump rope, but you can get a heck of a workout in with just a jump rope. But there's plenty of other things, just buy a small set of dumbbells that don't need electrical power, that don't need to be plugged in, that don't even need batteries. I mean, it's just weights, right? Like you're picking up and putting down weights. You got any of those throat things?
Yes, this episode is brought to you by not the Illuminati, although they're listening and watching, but Pine Brothers. Pine Brothers, soft dish, throat drops. Email me
I still
back.
need to order
Reply to
some.
my email. Reply to my email. Duck it. Reply to the email. Damn it.
Oh shoot.
You know what I love too? Our families actually are getting closer and more bonded through this off-grid kind of exploration that we're kind of figuring out what we're going to do next. Because
Sure.
every time we get something, like say even these things, first thing my wife says is, I wonder if we can make these.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like
sure.
right off the bat, like she wants to make her own candles. She wants to do
Yeah,
all these other things. It's just incredible. And that's what kind of inspired me to say, yeah, I'm plugging way too much stuff in. And
sure.
I would love to be able to do that. So what do you think? Thinking about off-grid fitness, let's just say somebody wants to say, I don't need anything or I don't want anything. I don't have room for anything. I just have my own body weight,
Yeah.
which technically should be the easiest thing for off grid. But I think people are stuck and look around and say, well, it's just my body weight. Where do I begin?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's so many places. Body weight is like it is the best place to begin as far as I'm concerned, because you
No
got to
matter
learn to
what, no matter
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah. And starting and you don't need any equipment, I guess, in a sense, if you're off grid living and you want to just improve your fitness, you don't need any equipment at all, because a lot of times with off grid living, you're there's more work involved because you sacrifice some of the conveniences to be able to do the off-grid stuff. So you're a lot more physically active when you're doing that. But you can also do a complete fitness routine, even if you live in an apartment and have all the electricity in the world, right? Like you can still have a fitness routine that is completely disconnected from electronics, and using just your body weight is a great way to get started. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats. You can do a massive amount of work with just those three movements. There's plank holds that you can do. There's so many different things that come into play with just body weight movement that anybody getting started, you don't need to go buy equipment. You don't need to plug it into anything. And so for anyone that is into or thinking about or considering or whatever want it with the off-grid lifestyle, body weight is really all that you need to get started. And then there's, other pieces and stuff that you can purchase, but you don't have to have anything.
Yeah, and also that is a great segue for one of our listeners and viewers all the way from episode one. Steve Rhino had asked about isometrics and other
Mhm.
things, and there's tons of isometric devices, or you can just grab a towel, you can push against the wall. You can start with isometrics before you even get down and do any kind of dynamic push-ups, squats. You can do a wall squat. If you're not even ready, if you're
Yep.
like, wow, I can't pull off 5 push-ups, I can't do this and that. Isometrics is the ultimate, in my opinion,
Sure.
off-grid workout. And
Sure.
it'll take pressure off your joints. So if you're living off-grid and you gotta grab the logs and put them up and chop wood, carry water, which by the way, chopping wood is rotationary or even slam ball training.
Yep.
carrying water is basically farmers walks.
Yep.
You know, people pay $150 a month in a CrossFit gym just for those two exercises sometime.
Sure.
I heard
Yeah.
CrossFit people are better people, by the way. I heard a rumor, but you know, off topic, and we'll get back to Steve's question comment. That thing popped up again where you were talking about CrossFit, and I played the Simon and Garfunkel thing where it slowly zoomed in. I don't know what I glitched out like Katy Perry on that. It was something happened. I don't know what it was, but I was MK Ultra to the max, and we are shadow
That's
banned after that. That was three strikes and we're out.
it.
But getting
That's
back to
funny.
Steve's thing with
Yeah,
isometrics, he's a big isometric body weight guy.
sure.
And we also love isometrics. You can't lift dynamically without using a isometric. So I would definitely recommend if you got a wall, if you got the ground, if you have a towel, or if you want to buy a bulwarker or an isomax or something like that, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
That could be your whole fitness journey right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, as far as equipment goes and things that you can do, there's so much you can do beyond the body weight. When you start thinking about equipment, technically speaking, if I don't use my TV when I'm in my gym, my garage gym is off grid because I don't have any equipment that has to be plugged in to use it. And so I have a full CrossFit gym basically in my garage that is totally off grid. And most CrossFit gyms are going to be off grid because they don't need to be. A lot of the equipment gets moved around and staging for the workouts and things like that. They're not plugged in because you don't want to have that tying you down. And so you can do a full gym and not have to have anything plugged in. I mean, most even commercial gyms, it's really when you get into the ellipticals and the treadmills and things like that where things have to start to be plugged in. And so that's something to consider if you're going to purchase a piece of equipment or something like that. Here in the Midwest, obviously I'm in Northern Illinois, so in the wintertime it gets cold. Running outside isn't something that I really want to do. So when I look at a treadmill, look at the Soul Fitness one that you have that doesn't need to be plugged in at all, and it's a
No, it is.
self-propelled
It
one.
does need to play.
Oh,
It looks like a curved treadmill, which are off grid. No, I don't like the fact it has a motor and it's
okay,
electronics and it is heavy.
got it.
So yeah, but I know you've been eyeing up the curved treadmill. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find out a way to get it to you. So
Right. So
yeah,
like it's just one of those things, like when you're thinking about your equipment, just be a little mindful of, okay, does this have to be plugged in or not? And so like my wife and I've been thinking about a treadmill for a while, and every one that we find has to be plugged in because it's not a self-propelled one, which there are some benefits to that because, like you can adjust the speed and then you force yourself to have to run faster. And then the speed isn't controlled by you. The speed is controlled by the treadmill. So there's definitely benefits to that, but I don't want to, based on where my gym is and the setup that my gym has, specifically in the wintertime, I plug a space heater in. So I'm going to be on grid for that because it's cold in there. But I can't plug in a treadmill. It limits where I can put a treadmill in my gym because I would have to run an extension cord and then it would just be a pain in the butt and I'd have to fight that all the time. So I definitely want something that doesn't have to get plugged in when I add that piece to my gym.
yeah. Did I send it to you? It was on Prime Day. I saw the Assault Runner Pro, not the Elite. The Pro was under $2,500, so it was over $500. It was
Oh,
still
wow.
3 grand
Sure. Still
retail.
not
It's
cheap.
still well, but the thing with that is the Soul Fitness one I have that they sent to me. I would never, if I had a choice to buy, I wouldn't have bought that one because it's much more expensive.
Sure.
More stuff can break. Like you said, now it's got to be stuck by where I have the outlet, running an
Mhm.
extension cord down. It looks ugly as hell. And you we like to rearrange our stuff multiple times to try different setups.
Yeah.
You can't do that, but with that assault runner, and I would go with that less to break, which means they extend that warranty much further than the Soul Fitness one. So when you just everybody listening or watching, when you buy most of these products that don't have electronics, don't have motors, like the Bulwarker, the ISO chain, the ISO Max, which those have a little bit of electronics on the screen, but essentially most of it is which I say like brick and mortar type of components, not
Mhm.
electronics. The warranties are better and it lasts longer because they know it'll last longer because it doesn't have a motor and stuff like that. So if I had to do it again, I would have, and I was about to pull the trigger on that Assault Runner Pro, not
Sure.
only to make you jealous, but also to because I like the curved one better than the flat treadmills,
Sure.
so I get that. But once again, that's first world problems. If you got to bundle up and run outside, if
Sure.
you love running, then
Right.
it's an inconvenience, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You should put a wood stove in your garage,
Ooh,
and
that's a
you can
great idea.
and you can cook your post-workout meal and get free heat. That would be
That's a
great.
great idea. That really is a great idea because I could do that. Uh, I was thinking
Dude, the
just to go off
ambiance would be incredible. Can you
yeah,
imagine that?
working out with it. Yeah, that would be good. Now, man, now you got me thinking. I'm gonna make a note to check into
Between
that.
700 to $1,000 for a good wood stove. I looked them up already. That is, you can
Yeah,
do the fireside chat thing. You could do a bunch of, you look at them writing it down.
I
You're
am. I
much better
am.
than me. I'm Mr. CTE. I'm like, I'll remember later, but I won't. Guaranteed. I want to remember this episode later.
Well, I have been thinking. So, like, to derail us for a minute. I have been thinking about a way to turn more of my garage because I have a 3-car garage, but I took so and the two there's a double door for part of it and then a single door for the third car. And so I took that whole third car area and turned it into a garage gym. But I have been thinking about how can I expand that to give us more room in the gym part of it, but then also heating it gets expensive. I got to run a space heater all winter long, but a wood stove, if I expanded the gym, would allow for more room so that I could put a wood stove in there and heat it. That's, dude, I didn't even think about that. And now I'm like, uh, I might have to
Oh,
get one.
yeah. Well, you know what? I got to warn you though. I got to warn you if you do that. I don't know what your wife is like. We put a wood stove in our gym when we have our own place. It's going to look, well, actually, that's not a bad idea. She's right. It's going to look like a log cabin gym.
Oh,
Like
sure,
there's gonna be
sure.
plaid, there's gonna be, different things. But dude, that's you would stand out. That would be amazing for
That's a
your
great idea.
channel to do
And the
that.
way the gym is set up, I could do it because the gym is on the outside wall, so I could cut a hole and
The
run like
sideways
vent it
like
out. Yeah,
pipe, right?
man, I'm gonna have to check into that and see if that's gonna be possible. Because I would much rather have a wood stove in there and use that to heat it than run that damn space heater all winter long.
The only other option, I know it, and people are like, my God, this is off-grid fitness, but we're trying to figure this out. The only other thing, and I don't know the cost comparison outside of the purchase, I would look up pellet stoves as well, because up in the Northeast in
Mm,
Connecticut, when I lived up there, pellet stoves were very, very popular because people can go out, chop wood or do whatever. So
sure.
pellets might be a little bit more affordable, but wood stoves to be able to cook on there, to have that fan device, it would be pretty incredible to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking one up right now. Sorry, everybody listening.
That's okay.
We'll get back to the
So,
episode in just a minute.
no, I've already started the research, but as far as that kind of stuff, and that's something too. Heating and cooling an
Yeah,
off-grid space can be now, cooling it for me and you is not really a big deal because we like
sure,
to sweat, but obviously our wives would like a more climate controlled environment. That would
sure.
be the only thing if you're truly off-grid with no electricity, that would be
Mhm.
something they would have to tough out. You have to figure out a way to cool that
Yeah,
or keep it at a temperature you need comfortable.
yeah,
You and I could work out in a 100-degree
sure.
gym. I don't care.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The venting. So, like for me, like that would be the one thing that in the summertime I work out in the mornings, so it doesn't get hot, right? Like in the afternoons, it would be pretty freaking hot to work out in my garage in the afternoon on those 90 to 100-degree days. So figuring out some ventilation, some windows you can open, things like that. I mean, I've sealed up my garage door so I can't open it, and there's no windows in there, so that kind of hurts things when it comes to creating that flow. But I have an air conditioner plugged into it too, so I'm a little on grid with that if I need it.
yeah, no, I mean, you have it, so you can use
Yeah,
it, but for other people, they would have to use the solar stuff and the
sure.
batteries. And there are people, there's a guy in Florida here that has an off-grid thing in North Florida, and he runs it, but he only runs it when he needs it at night before bed, runs it for an hour and then
Sure.
shuts it off from there.
Yeah.
But that kind of equipment, that's it. Yeah, we spun this all out of control. So
Yeah.
sorry,
Back to the fitness.
but you know what, man? I'm already in my mind designing your new log cabin gym. I'm looking at that. My wife will love it.
Hey,
So
the wood burning stove, I mean, like for the gym, but even if I did the whole garage, like that would be awesome if I could seal up my garage. But now my brain is just totally derailed. I'm gonna think about this the rest of the day. Thanks, dude.
I'm like a tech reviewer that you watch and you're like, I gotta buy it now. I gotta
Yeah,
do it and everything.
yeah.
We gotta talk about that because that's the opposite of off grid. We talked about the T4 show and maybe bringing some of the tech stuff back in the reviews. So we're kind of living a
Yeah.
hypocritical double standard dichotomy of a lifestyle right there. But
Just do everything.
why don't we why don't we kind of finish it off with this, with both of us going back and forth? What are your favorite off? What would you say would be top three, maybe top five if you have more than three,
Yeah.
top off-grid fitness products that you couldn't live without? Say you didn't have electricity, say whatever happened, and you could get lighting. Obviously, you need lighting, but
Yeah.
outside of lighting, what would be the top things you would put in an off-grid gym? And you can include that wood stove, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, for heat, yes, that would be something that we definitely need to have. But I think for me, like a a good set of dumbbells would be from a functionality perspective, from being able to do lots of different things with it, a really good set of dumbbells. I have a set of dumbbells that is the twist ones that adjust the weight as you go up. They go
Like
from
the Bowflex ones.
yeah, kind of. They go from 5 to 90 pounds. And so like that to me, if I didn't have any other equipment, I could do some pretty great workouts with just that set of dumbbells. And so if I were going to pick something, I would say that. Then probably I don't know what would be your top one while I think about what would be next for
You
me.
can go back and forth. My
Yeah.
top one, I got to tell you, yeah, it's not because I just been so obsessed with it. My top one, if I had only one thing to use for, say, my entire body, it would be that total gym.
Oh yeah, you're
It
liking it that
would be
much, huh?
that total gym.
Yeah.
There's a 1A, 1B one, but the 1B one kind of is convoluted. You can get a full body workout with it, but it's mainly just for squats, and that's the squat max. So,
Sure.
but the number one thing, if I had to choose, it's just given me incredible workouts. My back is protected. It's completely off grid. It folds up, it saves space, and I can transport it. So,
Sure.
what do you need? You know, so even when with the EMP or whatever hits and we're like, oh shit, grab the bag, we got to go. Grab the total gym. But I do have power block dumbbells. That would be my number two. And
Yeah.
I'll go, but power block dumbbells, because those twist ones, they kind of get in the way, especially on curls and triceps when you're trying to get your elbows in.
Sure.
So a power block, or they also have those new bells that are rounded, but the same thing as the power blocks.
Mm.
Um, a good set of dumbbells like that or adjustables definitely are the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, the adjustables from a space perspective, I think those I wish, to your point, they get in the way when you're curling those because the twist ones are so big. Like when I have the full, well, even if I don't have the full, they're huge. And my wife hates them because they're so big in her hands. Even to do 10 pounds, they're just so long and awkward, right? And so for me, it's not as big of a deal because I'm a big guy, but for her, it's much more difficult. I would love to have in my ideal world, I would love to have a full set of dumbbells, like if space was not an issue and I could just have a full set of dumbbells, I would love to have a full set of dumbbells with rubber heads on them so I could drop them, beat them up, do whatever I needed to do. But that just gets really expensive. So a good set of dumbbells, whatever that looks like for you. For me, I wanted the 90 pounds. For most people, probably 50 up to the 50 pounds would be sufficient. And then at that point, they're not as big, but because I wanted the 90-pound ones, they definitely got really big.
Well, I'll send you an email template. Maybe you can get some dumbbells sent to you. We'll
There you
figure it
go.
out. That dumbbells, wood stove,
Yeah.
curved treadmill. We'll figure it all out.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, the next pieces of
Yeah.
equipment that I would want to have in a off-grid situation. And they kind of go hand in hand, like a squat rack with a pull-up bar attachment on the top, like those. But then if you're going to have a squat rack, you got to have a barbell with some plates, right? So that whole set for me would be awesome to have, because there's so much you can do with barbells and squat racks and pull-up bars and things like that. And so that would be a must for me. Like I have the Rogue makes a foldable squat rack that can store away to save space and stuff like that. That is like the cornerstone piece of my gym, because then I can do everything else around that, because I've got the hooks and I can lower the bar, do squats, do bench press, do everything based off of that squat rack. So for me, that would be a big thing.
I was paying attention to you, but what you're saying there about maybe some of the cons of having a squat rack, and they have the foldable ones. Obviously, most of those, like the PRX and the Rogue and other ones, they need to be lag bolted into the wall most
Yeah.
times.
Yep.
Um, Force USA makes a foldable rack, which I really like, but you need to weigh it down with plates or
Oh, okay.
bolt it into the ground. Dude, this is the other one outside of the Total Gym, and I'm probably going to end up getting this for review. They made it red, and right here it's gold. You would love one of these lever gyms.
Oh, sure. Sure.
You want to talk about you can do everything on this thing in a small footprint, and it's
Yeah.
plate loaded. It simulates a rack. It's got the pull-up bar up top.
Oh,
You
wow.
can do unilateral stuff on it. You can use like jammer arms. You can do dips. You can do squats. You can do all sorts of bench pressing. It's incredible. You can hook up power bands, do variable resistance. And most of those, dude, are under $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the one I'm looking at that they want to send me is like $800.
Holy smokes.
So it's,
Wow.
I mean, nobody thinks about lever gyms because they look like Power Tech made them first. I think they've been around for
Sure.
a while, and Power Tech has a rap for not having really good ergonomics on a lot of their plate loaded stuff. Kind of like Titan Fitness has a reputation for welds that are hit
Sure.
or miss, and they're pissed off at me for saying that, by the way. But did it in a video. But that
Truth's truth.
lever gym, I've seen people using it, and it's just you got the cable attachment, you get cable rows, a ton of stuff you can do with that. So that would be if you just have the corner of a gym and you have no room for anything else, or a spare bedroom, or God, even in your living room or whatever,
Yeah.
the lever gym's a pretty strong choice and
Yeah.
cheaper than a total gym. Total gyms run, if you get them used, or cheaper, but brand new, they're running you minimum 900 to $1,000.
Sure.
So
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
tons of options, man. Tons of
Yeah.
really
There's so
fun
many.
options.
Yeah, so many. When it comes to off-grid stuff, another nice little perk is you can take it. If you get smaller equipment, you can take them with you everywhere, and then you're not only doing it in your gym at your home in your off-grid cabin. You can take it to the woods. You can take it to the lake.
And you
You
don't
can
have
take it
to
to the
assemble
beach.
them.
Yeah, and it's just super easy stuff that you can do, and you can transport it anywhere. You can move around your gym. You can rearrange your gym. You can create some variety. There's just a lot of perks to making sure that all of your equipment is off-grid, even if you're not off-grid.
Yeah, I found that too. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think maybe on a future episode, I'm going to cover it in the video as well. It's like the home garage gym thing. You go through, it's the law of expansion and contraction.
Hmm.
I went through years of thinking, and especially in the last apartment, I got to get as much stuff because it's cool to have my own
Yep.
gym. And you saw the videos.
Yep.
It was getting obnoxious. It was an episode of Hoarders, like
Yeah.
towards the end. But now it's like I want open space. I don't want to be distracted. I don't want the
Sure.
paradox of choice. If
Sure.
there is the paradox of choice, I want it to be within that one piece of equipment. Like,
Sure.
what am I going to do today? Oh, okay, body part's going to be this. I have a choice of doing that. But when stuff is laying around and it doesn't look right and your gym doesn't look clean, I'm
Hmm.
starting to really hate that. So off-grid fitness is going to go, at least with you and I, hand in hand with minimalist fitness.
Oh, sure.
We
Yeah.
don't want that. And my business is kind of suffering from it, but man, I'm starting to feel that's what you were saying previous to when we were recording. You're like, dude, you're pumping out a lot of content.
Hmm.
Well, I'm becoming less and less distracted
Sure.
like, oh shit, I got 15 different things to review. I got all this stuff going on. I feel like I'm narrowing in the focus of
Sure.
what I need to do. So there's a mental aspect to off-grid fitness as well as the physical footprint part of it. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. 100%. I think just when you are approaching your fitness journey and what equipment you're going to buy, like it's just a huge part of it to consider every time you're thinking about what you're going to get. Consider that because, and when it comes to moving, setting up a new gym, if you ever move, there's all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be the stereotypical off grid, living in the cabin in the woods to consider making all of your equipment off grid. And I think that's just a great thought to think of when you're doing it and getting started with just minimal equipment. Maybe that's another episode we talk about, like minimalist fitness, because I think that's something that people get overwhelmed with when it comes into garage gyms and things. And you don't have to have everything under the sun. You just need a few things to get started. So
I think the last question I had for you, because you already know I'm being sarcastic and cynical when I say this. What do you think? What do you think about the fact that maybe someday I could replace Chuck Norris as the Total Gym guy on the infomercials? And do I need to fight Chuck Norris? Let me try something. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this. Like Walker, Texas Ranger. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. Yeah, I can do it. Take that, Chuck Norris. God, please hopefully he doesn't see that. He would murder me in about 4 seconds. If Chuck Norris, if somebody told Chuck Norris to put me over and he took that and took a bump and let me pin him for 3 or stayed down voluntarily, he doesn't stand a chance against me. Put it that way. My thigh is
great,
so
dude.
sore right now. I did legs yesterday. Ow. Jeez. The thigh slap.
I'm dying.
Sorry about that.
No, that's great, man. That's so great. That's the best part of the episode. For those of you listening on the audio podcast, Stevie got up and just threw a super kick at, or threw a Stevie kick at Chuck Norris. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I am going to send that. I got Total Gym PR. I'm going to send that clip.
Dude,
clip this. We'll send it to him. We're good to go. I don't know if we can go past this. Is a high point or a low point. I don't know if we can go any further after this.
I
Probably
think that's
take
a
it
high
home.
point, man. We got to go home. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in this week to this week's episode of about off-grid fitness, the Big Fitness Show. As always, please comment, like, subscribe. What we would really appreciate, though, is if you want to send us some questions. If you have any questions about fitness, about your fitness journey, shoot us an email or comment with a question on the YouTube channel. The email is thebigfitnessshow@gmail.com. You can send us an email and we'll try to answer it on the next episode. We will answer. We want to start answering questions just to help and provide more value. So please send us an email and share this with anybody who might benefit from it. So
not Chuck Norris, though. Don't share it with him.
No, definitely tag.
I've already almost died twice this year. I don't need to strike 3 and I'm out. I can't do it.
Tag Chuck Norris and tag Total Gym and put Stevie on the spot. So anyway, thanks everybody for this week's episode. Appreciate you. For myself, for Big Stevie Cool. We'll see you in the next episode.